With a master's in food business degree from the prestigious Culinary Institute of America, Jason Wallace, a former executive chef restaurateur, is an innovative restaurant operations scientist. Wallace's client list reflects all genres of food service, including startups, quick service, full and limited service restaurants. Wallace's educational seminars for leadership development have been attended by prominent restaurant companies. As a food service educator, Wallace has served as a professor and guest lecturer at the New York Restaurant School, the Art Institute, Hudson and Westchester County Colleges. Wallace has been an active member of the New York State Restaurant Association, which was established in 1935, holding various leadership positions, including treasurer, vice chairman of the board of directors, and in 2010, Wallace became the first African-American chairman of the board for the New York State Restaurant Association.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Numbers with the Restaurant Scientist. I am Jason Wallace, and I am the Restaurant Scientist. Always dropping nuggets of knowledge on you for free. So today in the studio, physically in the studio, I have legendary restaurateurs. We are talking about the Douglas Neely Hospitality Group, based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Sir. Well, based out of Atlanta, Georgia, but we making moves here on the East Coast, too.
They making moves in New Jersey, New York, and on the East Coast as well.
We actually going to be making moves everywhere.
Yeah,
so
we started in Atlanta. Branching off to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Shauna Neely.
Hi.
Nigel Douglas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For having us.
No.
Much appreciated, brother.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure meeting y'all. We just recently got to know each other, and when I tell you it's like brothers and sisters, like we've been knowing each other for years.
Yep.
It's been a true joy, and we're going to continue to work together and collaborate as we should. As Black folks in the restaurant industry, we are truly here to talk about Behind the Numbers with the Restaurant Scientists, and we're going to dive into what you guys have created. One, I want to applaud you on it. It's very, very impressive.
Thank you.
Your resumes are top notch, and the ability to understand the premium market, right? The luxury brand market.
Yes.
It just warms my heart, because I often say, we don't always, as Black folks, have to open up soul food restaurants, right? We can start there, but then how do we evolve into other genres, other cuisines, other facets of the food service and hospitality industry, even moving into corporate dining, colleges and university dining. So there's so many other lanes that I'm always encouraging us to move into. But first, we got to get that first location right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We got to do one right, because why would I want to open up 2, 3, or 4 when I haven't actually mastered the first one?
Yep.
So, you know me, I'm about systems, I'm about policies and procedures, and I'm about building wealth, because we see multi-unit chain operators and other individuals, we'll leave it at that, right?
Nice.
Grow, right? Grow and build wealth through restaurant operations. So tell me about, first, let's start with, how did you guys meet?
So he says I love to tell this story.
loves to
I
tell
do,
the story.
though. So I used to design jewelry.
Okay.
And Nigel was a jewelry client of mine. And so we quickly became friends. He's a Scorpio, I'm a Scorpio. And we just became really great friends. And we kind of split up after that. When I first met him, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to buy this restaurant, whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, because people always talk. So he circles back to me. He's bought the restaurant. I am now transitioning from jewelry into hospitality, not even knowing I was doing that.
Okay.
I just knew I was burnt out from the jewelry industry. And so during the pandemic in 2020, only thing that was open was a grocery store. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna make this the sexiest pandemic ever. So I really stepped up my chefing skills, and I was creating these moments in my home where I was cooking and the music and the vibe. And you never know who's watching on social media. He was watching. And so he hit me up, I think on social media, or he texted me and he said, okay, what are you doing right now? I see what you're doing. I want you to come sprinkle that magic on my brand. My daughter had just went away to college, so I'm an empty nester. And I was like, all right. And so he said, how much would you charge me? Come out here for a month. He flies me out. He said, I want you to help me with social media, because I also do social media branding. I want you to help me with the menu. I want you to help me with interior design, because these are all the things that I was doing. And 3 days after I get to the restaurant, he's like, all right, I'm leaving. Shauna's in charge. I was like, what are you talking about? I've never ran a restaurant. But I think that he's a really good character, and he has a good eye to see when people are executors. He can see when people are passionate about something. He can really recognize talent, pull those strengths out. And so he saw that in me. He also owns other businesses in New York, and he wanted to leave Atlanta to tend to his other life. And so that's how we became partners. He saw that I treated the Real Milk and Honey like it was my own. Like, I'm picking up little pieces of paper off the floor. Him and I have the same sort of design aesthetic and eye, and we want the bathrooms to be immaculate. We want the customer experience to be unparalleled, because it has to feel like you're coming into my home. You come to my house, I'm gonna give you a drink, I'm gonna feed you, I'm gonna have the candles lit. It's gonna be a vibe in my house. And so that's what we do in the restaurant.
Gotcha.
And so once he did that, he said, you know what, let's just partner. And then Douglas Neely was birthed. And so we initially were going to open another restaurant in Atlanta, but now we're doing it here in Edgewater, New Jersey. Caviar coming soon.
Get ready.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. I'll stop talking now. I'll just keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, it's everything that Shauna said. But I think how we got here today with Douglas Neely is that we wanted to create something in the 21st century, right? And so when we sat down and we start conceptualizing ideas, I said to Shauna, I said, what does brunch look like 10 years from now, 25 years from now?
Visionary.
So we're thinking in the future, right? It doesn't, if you look at the market right now, right, everyone's doing brunch, right? But is everyone doing brunch on another level? Or they bringing another level of vibe to the market, right? So we just didn't want to be another brunch spot, right? I already have a brunch spot,
right?
So what are we doing to innovate, create? And that's really how Douglas Neely was born. It was born out of innovation. So everything, I mean, even our future concepts that we've already thought about 5-10 years from now are on another level. Right?
Right. So tell me what's in the portfolio now of the brand.
So right now, what's in the portfolio of the brand, and we're just focusing on that right now, is Caviar.
Okay.
And Caviar is literally the first baby of Douglas Neely Hospitality.
Got you.
Innovatively, we're conceptualizing boutique hotels. We have other restaurant ideas that we wanna promote. That are innovative, they're definitely next level, but it's a plethora thing. But I think where the Douglas Neely brand kind of sets apart from everyone else is that we're really thinking about every step of the way, right? We're thinking about first impressions, last impressions. What do you feel when you come into Douglas Neely Hospitality and one of our venues, and how do you feel when you leave? Right. And we're thinking about that 10 years from now.
Got you.
Every step of the way, when you step into the restaurant, when you step into the bathroom, when we're creating these little moments that make people want to come back.
Okay.
Not just the food. The food can be great. The service can be great. But if you're creating a vibe, people are going to want to keep coming back.
Absolutely.
So we're very, very particular on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So behind the numbers with the restaurant scientists, you know me, I'm a business behind the scenes guy, right? I'm the brains behind many brands that are out there, right? Nationally. And that's the way I built my reputation in terms of generating profits, right? At the end of the day, how are we building wealth? But I know from a business point of view, this thing has to start with how do you greenlight a lease, right? A location. And then, where's the money come from? What's the investment thresholds? What do those shareholders agreements look like between investors as well as operating agreements? So most people don't understand. They're like, oh, we just want to go and raise some money.
That's where it all starts.
You got to reach out to your family and friends, but
and family
there's
never
a shareholders
have no money.
agreement. Right. There's a shareholders agreement. There's an operating agreement. There's a lease to sign. There's a personal guarantee on that lease. So talk to me about that. How you guys.
I want to first start by saying that Nigel and I have such a great chemistry as business partners. And because we're so passionate about it, I think that God is smiling on us and has put different people in our paths for us to really, the way things line up for us and the way that we found the space that we're about to activate Caviar in, and the landlord, and the way all that happened was very serendipitous. And I think that started the catalyst for it. I'll let him speak to the numbers and all of that because he's really good with that. But I feel like when you're aligned with someone in purpose and passion, that things just sort of happen to you. And I feel like God just smiles on you. And that has been, we've been very, very fortunate that way. So we're incredibly grateful.
Drop that bomb, Marv. Peace squared, purpose and passion.
It's true. It's
Absolutely,
true.
absolutely. So, okay.
So I think this really is for the young entrepreneurs coming up. You know, even more so some restaurant professionals and chefs that are starting out. It really comes down to the business of it, right? Let's start with, you know, potentially negotiating a lease in a lease space. I think sometimes people want to start off really big and they don't understand. Don't take on more than you can chew, right? Because if you can't chew it, right, you can't. You know, it's not gonna. You're gonna choke. You're gonna break it down.
Right, absolutely.
And so, you know, for us, you know, I've always had a philosophy where I don't want a restaurant that's too huge, right? I keep it a certain scale because I feel like that scale is the model that we kind of vibe on.
It's manageable,
right? That's manageable. So when negotiating a lease, you definitely want to look at that. You want to look at that first, right? You want to look at capacity. Is your capacity enough to fill this space in the segment that you are in, or don't take on that burden? And then the next thing is, how are you leveraging your brand to get what you want? And when I say that is that when we were shopping Caviar, we were getting major numbers thrown at us to bring that concept to a location because we created noise around the brand. Because some people will say, well, I'm not giving you tenant improvements. That, you know, that's probably not where you want to be, because then you're already going into that restaurant in the hole, right? You're going to be completely in the red. If you can go into a point where you're closer to breaking even, that's where you want to be, right? If I'm getting $300,000 worth of tenant improvement, I'm getting 6 months to a year concession. Those are the things that you want to look at. That makes sense.
Yep. For my viewers and listeners, let me just break it down for you. So what ends up happening is there are first-generation restaurants and there are second-generation restaurants. He's talking about a situation where there's a first-generation restaurant, meaning that you're going to build out vanilla box or an empty space, which means that you're going to go in there and you're going to put in leasehold improvements to that landlord's building.
Exactly.
Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, things that when you leave at the end of your lease, you cannot take with you. Right? So the ability to know that knowledge and understand how to negotiate that lease and have that be part of the landlord's cost. It's called tenant improvement. Some landlords call it work credit. So the ability to understand if it's going to cost me $100 per square foot and the landlord is going to pay $50 or $60 or whatever, $30 a square foot, in order to help build out their space, at the end of the day, that makes their value of their real estate go up.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Now, furniture, FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that's all on us as operators. Right? So clearly, Nigel's knowledgeable about what he's talking about in negotiating those leases, because that's really where the profits begin.
It's true.
And if you don't have the proper lease, then you're setting yourself up where your break-even point is so high that you don't have the ability to actually get to a profit margin of north of 10% EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, right?
Yep.
Boom. So let's talk so that they understand.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was great.
Definitions.
We start talking in acronyms, and people are like, "What's TI?"
Yeah, exactly. It's not a rapper from Atlanta, right?
Exactly.
Right. So tenant improvement. So okay, now you go there. So continue.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be that knowledgeable, because what could happen is you can get into I want to talk to the people like in a real situation, right?
Absolutely.
You can get into a situation where you sign a lease, your landlord's not giving you tenant improvement, the people you thought was coming in to help you financing the project pulls out, then you're fucking stuck in a lease.
I mean, you're talking about when we were going to Atlanta, right?
I mean, just whatever it is. But
Right.
it's, in practical terms, we're here to help you avoid that pitfall.
Absolutely.
Because we don't want to see young entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs looking to get into maybe something else, get into that bad situation. Make sure you do your homework. And to be honest with you, when you're starting out, if no one's helping you get to that next level and it's all on you and you don't have the finances, don't do it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to ask for things like tenant improvement. Don't be afraid, because they need you to come into that space, right?
Exactly.
They're not going to be able to thrive unless you thrive. And so when you know that the landlord or the building owner is meeting you halfway with tenant improvements, that's a flex. You lean into that.
Absolutely. As well as with a runway to grand opening, right?
Yes.
Meaning that if it's going to take you 3 to 4 months to get your permits, and then you got to build out another.
Exactly.
So do you really have 6 months to a year of free rent period?
That's another big
that will
thing.
allow you that Nigel mentioned. I don't know if y'all caught that, but that's why I had to come back. He mentioned that as well in his initial announcement about understanding how to negotiate that.
And that's another thing, build out time, right? And understanding that construction process, because now you got into a lease, and now you realize that you have to get an architect, right? Because you have no MEPs in the building.
MEPs are
mechanical engineering, electrical, and plumbing.
And so now you realize you need an architect. You need to, and you have to get an architect these days because everything is by code. And so those code, they change so they change so continuously that those you may have opened a restaurant 5 years ago, but now they changed the code.
Absolutely.
And so now you have to do your kitchen a certain type of way.
The architect will pretty much know what's changed. So.
And so all those little nuances you have to know prior to opening a restaurant.
Absolutely.
And guys, I'm not here to say, well, I learned a lot of this stuff along the way, but that's the whole purpose of each one teach one, right? And I feel too often we hold back that knowledge.
Yeah.
We don't set each other up for success. And I'm definitely, and Shauna will tell you this, I'm always ready to help a hand and pull somebody up because someone pulled me up. And so if we can help you guys avoid those pitfalls, it just makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
I truly believe that everyone could be successful, right? We could have 10 restaurants on the same block and everyone could be winning. It doesn't have to be where,
nobody's in competition.
I'm gonna keep this because I don't want you to be successful. If you walk the New York City street blocks, there's 10 restaurants on every block.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Right. And whether some are doing well or some are good, they're still all living in the same space. And so I believe that there's a space for that.
Got you. And when you bring your team together, I'm assuming you guys are very influential on the decor. Like, so some architects are a one-stop shop, right? They do the architectural drawings. They also have an interior designer. And then most of them will farm out the kitchen design to someone like myself because they just don't have that person on board all the time because they do other projects. So I would imagine you guys are very heavily involved in the decor.
Nigel's very lucky to have me because I wear many hats, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
I'm a designer, jewelry designer, self-taught chef, decorator. And so him and I designed Caviar together. And, it was sometimes it's a bit of a struggle, but I think that he trusts my design sensibility. I trust his. We didn't really need a designer to come in and do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we needed the architect, but him and I can come in. He's really good with something that belongs on that wall. We got to put something there. And then I'm very good with that light fixture's going to go good. Oh, we should put this here. And you got to find a sweet spot. You got to pick your battles.
Especially with me.
Especially with him, because we have this gorgeous chandelier coming to Caviar that was imported from Morocco, custom from Morocco. And I showed him the picture and he was like,
we battled for 6 months on that
He
thing.
was like, no, it's too much money. And I was like, Nigel, please just let me have this one thing. He leaned into it. It now makes the space. This is what
I love it now.
You should flash.
Yeah.
You should flash that picture. I think I said to you.
Right.
But I think that you have to pick your battles. And I want to always stay in a sweet spot with him because what happens is when you have business, when we're like this, if not, we end up going like this. So you got to be like, all right, you don't want that? I'm going to lean into it. And I think that we found a great balance. But no, we did not need a decorator because,
Absolutely. True partnership.
Yeah,
True
we know
partnership,
the
true
kitchen, we were able to design the kitchen, of course, by ourselves. And we the walls, it was, you know, it was bare.
It was a bare space.
But we also, you know, I think I surprised Shauna a little bit. I understand architectural design, so I was able to like put some architectural structures in there to give it some nuance. And so, yeah, I mean, we don't really need. Eventually, when we branch out, and we actually just had this conversation last week, we are actually in the process of putting a team together because we can't be everywhere.
And we can't do everything.
We can't do everything.
Yeah, we're not playing small. We're playing big.
Yeah.
And so we
we're
got to
getting
bring
ready.
people in to,
Yeah.
it's okay to be able to outsource things and say, okay, I'm good at this, you're good at that, now I can
Yeah.
focus on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now. But I'm also a big component of promoting within. So one of my all-time goals was you build that core staff, which is at the Real Milk and Honey right now. Those managers, those chefs, the cooks, the servers, they become district and regional presences in the company because they know how we like it done. They understand that we've built an incredible service level where we are right now, and they get that. So why not promote your people from within, allow those people to grow with the company and have a 20, 30-year span and longevity, opposed to always revolving the door and not being able to retain talent.
Yeah.
Because talent is one of the biggest components in the restaurant industry.
Human capital.
Yes.
It's true.
If
Human capital. Now, one thing I keep saying every show, what's not on our balance sheet, assets, liabilities, owner's equity, right? Cash, marketable securities, prepaid rent, insurance, inventory, all those tangible assets. The most valuable asset in the restaurant industry is human capital.
Human capital. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it is because
Absolutely.
human capital is actually the biggest component to me, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because everything, your sales, right, your losses, your credibility,
Absolutely.
all comes back to talent.
Absolutely.
And if your talent is not spectacular from first impressions to last impressions, people get that, they hook to it, and they're like, man, service was horrible, or this was bad. Oh, where did you hire this manager from?
Right.
Every person in that restaurant right now has been handpicked and
groomed
to be where they are, because there's certain things that we don't have. And it's got to be a standard of excellence.
And the fact that we live here and the restaurant is in a whole nother state and it's thriving, it speaks volumes.
Absolutely.
You know,
Because that's the culture. That's the corporate culture.
it's true.
That's it.
And creating that culture and maintaining that culture is paramount.
Exactly.
So now let's talk a little bit about funding, right? We know you. We assume, right? We know you back. First of all, NYU grad.
Yeah, NYU
Yeah,
grad.
so fine, yeah. So I know. I read up on this guy. Yeah, super intelligent brother. Understands finance very, very well. So let's talk about it. All right. So when you are signing a lease, when you get to the point where you say, okay, go or no go, right? So me, I'm real clear. Green, yellow, or red. Green means go. Yellow is cautioning about this deal. Red means stop, right? So I'm always, again, a numbers guy. I'm going to be very forensic on the P&Ls, right? I'm going to be extremely forensic on the startup costs and understand that my investment, I want to get my initial investment back in 36 months, 48 months max. So that means that if I'm going to spend $1 million of my own money, that it needs to throw off enough profit. And this is just my scenario. I need to be able to get all of my initial money back within 48 months or less, which is 4 years, is the terms we talked, 52 weeks in quarters. That now I begin to make money, because you don't really start to make money until you get all your money back that you actually invested. And so talk to me about that. And there clearly is only two ways of raising capital in this country, either debt or equity. And what's your formula, without exposing your secret sauce and any trade secrets? What's your formula for determining how much debt, how much equity? What's that horizon, that payback horizon, and what's the return on investment?
I'm gonna start out by saying one thing, and Shauna knows what I'm gonna say. Always bet on yourself.
Yes.
Right. So if you're gonna try to raise capital, do it with yourself first. If you then can't raise the capital to get it done, bet on yourself again. Right? No, and
I love it.
Yeah, because it's hard. Partnerships are hard, right? And you got to have the right partners who understand the philosophy of a restaurant. It's very. We all know that the restaurant industry could be fluctuated, right? So it's hard to get into business and partnerships or take investments from outside partners who don't understand the restaurant business. But
not all money is good money.
It's
Basically, right? Just because somebody has $1 million don't mean they're the right partner.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right,
and I'm gonna say that in general context, not just in the restaurant business. Partnerships overall are hard, so you have to find like-minded people. I wouldn't even say people who know. They don't need to know the restaurant industry. They just need to be like-minded. If you're not betting on yourself and you're taking finance, they need to be like-minded people who understand that there are going to be challenges and obstacles of building anything, and everyone's need to put a brick in and move from that one brick and then build another brick. And if that brick breaks, we're going to put another brick in and so forth. But when it comes to funding, I recommend if you are going to get funding and you're going to get into a business opportunity as opening a restaurant, try to get all of your funding up front, right? Where you're not dependent and waiting on financing to come in. If someone says, I want to invest, one of the great things, during my NYU career that I've learned is that you can vet finance, right? Let's put together an affidavit of your financials.
Listen, he's dropping now. He's going to some place. He's going there. Go ahead, brother. Keep going.
Drop an affidavit of your financials, your financial statements, and let me see that you have $200,000 in the bank to invest. Before you tell me, because anybody can tell you they have that money to invest, but let's get through some financial affidavits and let me verify through your financials that you have this money to invest. And that sets the tone that they know that you're going to be a great business partner. If they can't respect that, then that may not be the business partner that you need, right? Because that's showing them that you're that detailed in your knowledge of understanding what financials look like to know, you know what, I don't want to take your money because you don't have enough money and I shouldn't take it. That would be reckless of me, right?
A little bit irresponsible.
Irresponsible. You're not showing the finance. Exactly. Right?
Because as soon as this shit get tight, right? As soon as rent guys,
I can't get my money back.
Right. Nah, you told me 36 months, nigga. Why am I shit? You're like, nah, bro. Like,
and you're gonna run into that in business regardless, because people have their own agendas, they have their own lives going on. But I think it's also important they have to be able to trust us as the talent to do what we do, and they have to know when to fall back and when to step in. I just need you to give me the money. We're gonna make this happen.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, there's so many things that we could talk about when it comes to like before you jump in. Make sure you have a good accountant that can keep your books organized. Definitely want to have an attorney look over any lease agreement. I see people sign leases and then they don't have that legal background to understand what they're signing, and they can easily get caught up in something that they were never meant to sign.
Yep. This is real conversation, y'all. Y'all don't think y'all truly understand. Like, this guy is dropping knowledge. Shauna's dropping knowledge as well. Man, this is so let's
can do this for 3 hours.
Let's keep this going. Because what ends up happening is there's a difference. Even if you bring on a chef, right, and you say, okay, chef, I want to give you a part of the business, right? You want to give them a base salary plus you want to give them a percentage. There's a difference between that's an operating agreement, right? And you got to make sure that from the recipes, right, that from the operational controls, that all of that is in place. So as Nigel was saying, you make sure that your attorney understands what you want, so that when you begin to approach investors, whether they are bringing in capital or even trying to go to the bank for some debt or offering employees shares within this company or some type of profit sharing agreement, that you know what you want, right? So that you can understand the person that actually wants to come into this organization if they truly understand what this culture is about and what this game is about.
Yep.
It's so much, man. Like it's really, really a lot when it comes to business in general.
Yeah.
And I think so often there's a lot of talent in the market, but when it comes to understanding the business component of getting into something, a lot of people just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, it's not in the talent, it's in the paperwork. Right?
No, it's true.
The talent
People
could
run
be
away
great.
from the paperwork, and he's really taught me that. He's like, no, once we get this done, we get past it, we're gonna soar. But people stop and they go, well,
It's too much paperwork. I don't want to do it.
There's so many moving parts. People think we make this shit look so fucking easy, and it's not. I'm telling you, certain people couldn't live 5 minutes in our lives.
Absolutely.
Because we're willing to jump off of a cliff and know that we're going to build our wings on the way down. People can't even fathom that. That's not how we live. We live off of passion.
90% of this shit is stress.
The fact that I get paid for this shit is gravy. You know what I'm saying? I love it that much. I didn't know I loved it that much. I always love hospitality like that. Now I'm learning, thanks to Nigel and you, I'm learning the business side of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Nigel's like, no, go through that shit.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to come out on the other. Like the second restaurant we open, it's a wrap. Because I'm learning so much right now. You got to go through it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're an entrepreneur until they get into that. And then, especially in the restaurant game, a lot of people want to get in this restaurant industry, and like it never feels like a day of work for me. Which is why we
always say that.
Yeah, it never feels like a day of work. It does not.
That's
too
how
much fun.
you know you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Even on the down days, it's like, you know what? Let me just sit back and figure this shit out. It's like, because we know that there's a strategy behind everything, and that's a philosophy that I really would like young entrepreneurs to understand. Or when you're starting a business, if you're really, really passionate about something, don't quit.
Yeah.
Because if you quit, you're never gonna know what's on the other side of that railroad track, right? There's nothing in this world called a roadblock. There is only strategy on how to get around that roadblock.
I like
It's
that.
so true.
I like
It's
that
so
one. He's
true.
dropping
Because if that's the case, right? Everyone that heard a no,
we wouldn't even be
we
here.
wouldn't be here, right? So if you hear a no, that's great. Guess what? Let me figure out how to turn that no into the solid yes. And that's only with strategy.
No, absolutely.
You know?
I remember, for those may or may not know, I'm actually a chef by trade. Culinary Institute of America, studied in France, did all that shit, line cook, sous chef. And the reason why I chose to go back and get that second and third master's degree and all is because I saw the lack of people understanding the business, right? Yeah, you can make a great dish, right? Doesn't matter, but your dish is not profitable, bro.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it tastes great, but the profits are not there. So someone had to actually go get that education and that life experience to come back and say, okay, now let me share with my people, right? Let me collaborate with anybody and everybody that understands how to really build wealth through this game and understand the numbers and the science behind it. Oh man, this is good.
So you make a mean eggs Benedict, is that what you said?
Oh man, I make great everything. I remember when Marcus Samuelson and I was pretty much line cooks and sous chefs together when he was at Aquavit when I came back from France. And every time I went over there, he never fed me the same thing twice.
Oh, yeah, he told us that story.
It was like he would remember what I had the last time, and he's just
was going in.
No man, So that's the level of cuisine that I was constantly trained on. But what I needed to understand was the numbers, right? I needed to understand. I needed to know it with confidence. Like this shit just flows out of my mouth. People are literally, you got to pay to fucking talk to me.
Yeah,
period.
that's a beautiful thing.
You know what I mean? So, it's great. So you guys, let's talk about Caviar.
Yes. Oh,
So
my favorite thing.
Even know. So we're 30 minutes in. We got another 30 minutes, right?
Love it.
So let's talk about Caviar and then tie all the other pieces too. Like, how did you find the space? How do you decide on a first or second generation restaurant?
Great story. This is a great
or not,
story.
and then the numbers and. So let's talk about Caviar. First, where is it at? Where's it located?
So Caviar is in Edgewater, New Jersey.
Okay.
Right off the Hudson River.
Okay.
Right off of River Road. And to like a 20-minute drive from the city, if that. And again, circling back to Nigel's point, he challenged me and said, Shauna, we can't just open up another soul food restaurant. what does brunch look like 5, 10, 20 years from now? And so we started to think about it. And at that point, I was falling in love with caviar. Nigel had never had caviar before.
And typical brunch thing, we was like, shrimp and caviar.
Yeah,
we was coming up
we
with
trying
all
to come up with all these names.
Right.
Because initially we were going
Benedict, all that.
we were going to open in Atlanta, and so glad that didn't happen. There were a lot of yellow and red flags that stopped, and we ended up and landed in Caviar. And Caviar is a caviar and oyster bar with all-day Southern brunch on the weekend. It's an elevated dining experience. It's not just your regular shrimp and grits. It's going to be elevated. Every meal, every dish will be curated. We are hand selecting where we get all of the produce and the meats and the protein. You're going to walk in and it's going to be a plethora of caviar and seafood and oysters. We actually have our own private label caviar called Caviar. We are not playing small. We are playing fucking big. Let's go. This will be the first Black-owned restaurant in Edgewater. And so we have big shoes to fill.
Okay.
And we have a legacy that we're trying to create. And we found this space. We were actually going to do something in Secaucus, and we're so glad that didn't happen. We were having a frustrating day walking into the cigar lounge. This deal was falling apart in Secaucus, and we met the owner of the building that we were coming. We were talking. He's like, "What do you guys do?" We're like, "Oh, we're restaurateurs." He's like, "Oh, come to my building, open up a restaurant." We literally made the deal that day.
Wow.
Black man from Harlem, come to my building. We walked into the space and we were like, we just knew. We were like, this is it.
Yeah, it had all the bones.
It just had all the bones. We were having some, back and forth with the landlord, and he was kind of being an asshole. Let me just tell you. Now he's a teddy bear, but Nigel's really good, again, at saying, you know what, Shauna, the project, the bones is bigger than that. The space was already going to be a restaurant. It had been sitting there dormant, so the bones were in. Everything, it was going to be, it wasn't necessarily a second generation space because nothing had opened there, but the hood vent was in, the kitchen was mapped out, the tall ceilings, everything was in there. And so...
Well, hold on, pause right there.
Oh, you talking about...
Because the hood vent was actually in there.
But we didn't know it.
But someone came in there, some contractor came in there.
That built the building.
And covered it.
No.
So when we saw the space...
We were like, oh shit, we gotta put in a hood vent.
And when we walked there, we had a couple of contractors come through, and they was like, man, you gotta vent this shit from outside. You gotta put this in. It was $100,000
easy.
So I'm sitting there. At this point, I'm open. I'm like, the fuck, we gonna sign a lease. I'm like, what is going on? And so I hear a knock on the door, and this guy, short Italian guy, comes in, smoking a cigarette. Hey, I don't usually come by here, but I was down there getting some gas and shit. I built this place. I said, Ray, how you build a place and don't put a fucking hood vent? And he was like, it's right here.
Right there.
Oh,
he took a hammer, knocked out the wall where they sealed it up, knocked it out.
You got the black eye.
I said, Ray, get out of here. I said, you just saved me $100,000.
Yeah, because we didn't
He was like, it was right there. So again, it's the story that Shauna's building up. We were going here, we were going there, we got here, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Everything just aligned.
Right? Because that knock on the door was like, this is your home. Yeah. He knocked out the vent, the ventilation to go up to the roof. It was already there.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
So I mean, not a greater story, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so now we are very close to opening. The space is beautiful. We can't wait to host you. Edgewater needs something like that. Brunch is a big business everywhere, but in Edgewater, I mean, it lines around the block, and people are going to love.
Wow.
We kill it in Atlanta, 2.5 3 hour wait times at the Real Milk and Honey. We're gonna kill it here. We have so many exciting things that are coming to this restaurant, and we can't wait to share everything.
Wow, let's get a round of applause there,
man. Pat us on our back. We good.
Nah, man, this is awesome. So, what's the projected opening date?
So before summer. End of spring.
Oh, wow. So you're close.
We're very, very close.
I've been following you on Instagram, so I do see the development is moving quickly.
Yeah, so we're just finishing up some final touches. We'll start doing some soft openings soon. And then we'll be able to activate. But honestly, in my head, we're on to the next restaurant.
Gotcha.
Like, we really are. Like, we have, underneath the Douglas Neely Hospitality Group, we have several restaurant concepts that are going to fucking kill it.
Right.
And so this is just one baby.
Gotcha.
It's about to be pushed out and walk. And we're going to help it walk, but we got so
Yeah, I know we're talking about doing some things, bringing you to Newark as well. You know, we hopefully we can make that happen as well.
Yeah.
So what's the square footage? What's the seating capacity? You got a full liquor license, no liquor license, beer, wine, like.
Great questions. So it's 90 seat capacity, not including the outside terrace.
Okay.
3,200 square feet.
Okay.
We do not have a liquor license.
Okay.
However, we have a way around that because do I tell him this part about this?
It's tricky.
Actually, this might be the perfect place to hold on.
No, not tricky like that. I mean,
No.
I want the people to understand it.
Actually, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. So
we got to make sure the people understand.
But no, let me build this part of the story. In Edgewater, it is very, Jersey in general, but it's specifically Edgewater, it's really hard to get a liquor license. It's very expensive. They do it town specific. And so there are 2 liquor licenses available in Edgewater, and they're both over $1 million. One is 1.4, one's 1.3. We could open up 4 or 5 restaurants with that.
That's changing. So that landscape is changing.
It's changing, but it may not change quick enough. Absolutely. And we want liquor in the restaurant. It's a Caviar oyster bar. We want people to have some champagne with their caviar. So what we've decided is, get ready, drum roll. We are gonna make it a private club because we still have to do a little bit of research. But hold on. Private clubs allow you to serve and sell alcohol
to your members.
And see that strength right there. That strength right there. You see that strength?
We got to partner with a lawyer. We've actually partnered with a lawyer. We got to learn a little bit more about it. But it is also going to keep it at the exclusivity that we want to keep it at.
Absolutely premium.
And yes, because people will come and run it in the ground, and we figured out a way around it. So we are setting it up to be a private club. The regular public will have the limited access, and don't be scared by us saying private club. It is still going to be accessible. It is still going to be something that you want to go to. And we feel like that's the wave of where things are going.
I see a revenue stream there.
Absolutely.
I see a member. I pay to be a member.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That way we start off in the black.
Yeah.
And we're we're selective on who's coming in. Not just anybody can walk in. You got to have reservation. We get a guy outside with a suit and a microphone. Like, do you have it's going to be like that. But I don't want to intimidate people or scare them because we're still going to make it accessible, and we will show you and illustrate how we do that. So we just said it. Oh my God.
You heard it here first. Behind the numbers with the restaurant scientists. This is what we do. This is how we do it. We ain't playing no fucking games. You understand me?
Yeah. Our investor's going to be so happy because he pushed for that too.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, sign me up. I'll pay to be a member. Yeah. I mean, I start thinking about numbers and revenue streams. So revenue streams is what we do. You guys hear me talk about, my listeners hear me talk about all the time. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night, beer, wine, spirits. Those are all revenue streams. So when we start thinking about ways of maximizing profit, return on investment, this is not a fucking hobby. Right? It's not a hobby. I tell people all the time, don't get into this game unless you really want to annihilate the game.
Exactly.
Right? We're trying to make money here.
Exactly. And guys will spend $10,000 on a Chanel bag. It's like, would you like to be in a private club and you're sitting next to someone you could have a real conversation.
Absolutely.
And it could turn into a real business opportunity.
Absolutely.
And so we want to create not just that, but a culture of bosses to come in there. And
it's like where the bosses want to go to play.
Absolutely. That's what we need that. We need that in our community. And you guys are definitely visionaries. Oh my God.
We just give you a little piece.
I thought I was a visionary, man. You guys are serious as shit.
Oh yeah.
And that's only that you don't even understand how that is.
We just give you a little bit.
Yeah, that's the bare minimum of it.
Caviar for you.
Oh,
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Right, that's the bare minimum of it. Where it's gonna go globally is endless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And so that's, until somebody knocks on our door and say, Douglas Neely,
$46 billion.
We're gonna keep innovating and keep being at the top of that top echelon and building that portfolio.
Absolutely.
But we're also looking to, not right now. I think in this space and in the conversation that we're having, and I've always talked to Shauna about this. Sometimes a business just needs to be acquired because they just don't have the structure.
Here we go again, dropping fucking knowledge.
They don't have the structure to be successful on their own, but they have the talent. So this is where, when we started Douglas Neely, the real vision was, you know what? We're not only going to open restaurants, we're going to acquire businesses too that have the talent, teach them how to be great, right? Run the financials, give them the right marketing, public relations, the whole spectrum. And because here's the thing, a creator doesn't want to deal with finances and all that. They just want to create, right? So if you give them the backbone and the tools to do that, so it's not just about Douglas Neely. It's about the young entrepreneurs, the ones that are coming up, the chefs that are coming up. Don't worry, we're looking at you, right? We're looking to see who's winning those James Beard Awards, and those investments are going to be coming down the line because
you hear this? Yeah, this guy, this lady, they're on another level, and what they're really telling you in the back end, even you existing operators, what's the exit strategy, bro?
Exactly.
Like, what's your exit, right?
Exactly.
So we begin the conversation with the exit strategy because every investment, this is where I think restaurants get a bad rap on a whole and say, well, most restaurants go out of business in 5 years. Well, maybe that was the plan. Maybe, right? Maybe I only signed a 5-year lease and I got my money back and I made a little money and I just decided to shut down, right? So if we really start to think of this financially, right, from an investment point of view, you have to start a conversation with what's the end game.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
What is the exit strategy?
We already have a number.
And if somebody wants to be acquired, you need to holler at them, right? If you're a struggling restaurant, I've been trying to help struggling restaurants. That's really how I built my consulting business. I want to help you get, if you're underperforming means if your net operating income is less than 10% of your sales, then you are underperforming. But if you want to increase that, I can show you how, one penny at a time. And then more importantly, I can look at your lease and say, well, you got 4 years left on this lease. You know, you might, at your age or of your health or how healthy is your restaurant, you might want to think about, let's position it to sell it. Let's position an exit strategy that will allow you to reach out to somebody in my network that says, oh, we might want to acquire a second generation restaurant.
But, and on the other side of that, they could have great, they may be mediocre on the financials, food is great, everything is great, they just may not have the right marketing strategy. Right. And so they're not pulling in, and I think, and we talk about this all the time, you got to know your local demographics, right? Because most of the people that visit your restaurant are going to be local. Don't think that these people on social media and all these other platforms are coming to visit your restaurant. Some of them just may not live in the area.
Right. Especially if you're not in the tourist destination city.
Exactly.
Some of them are haters. Sorry. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's just what it is. And so as you grow, you're going to learn that B2B business is great, right? Why am I not marketing my restaurant to local businesses that have maybe 1,000 people in that office building, right? Be very strategic, but know your local demographic as much as you want to learn this online demographic, which is great, but that local demographic is what's going to bring the consistent people to your door weekly, because then you'll have people who come visit the restaurant that's local twice a week. You know,
right.
So you just may not have the right marketing strategy.
Man, I'm a sell. I don't even know if I'm gonna put this episode up for free, man. We need to
Let's make a coin.
Shauna dropping knowledge nuggets, Nigel dropping knowledge nuggets, and clearly you always know I don't play no games. Like ain't nobody.
We're gonna talk offline. We're gonna talk.
Yeah,
I just
ain't nobody out in the game like me. You know what I'm saying? Taurus.
Oh, Taurus. Okay, yeah, we both spoke.
Taurus. The
I just gotta.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, we have 10 minutes left. So let's just, let's start to wind it down. We're in the home stretch. Any last nuggets of knowledge, wisdom, and then ultimately, tell us. Caviar, your social media handles. How can people get in touch with you? Let's do that.
So,
ladies first.
Caviar, the social media handle for Caviar coming soon to Edgewater, New Jersey is Caviar by DNHG. CaviarbydNHG. Follow us. And then my I actually have multiple pages, but I'll just give you one. The other page is
I follow you. You got like 5 pages.
The Real Shauna's Stage. It's such a long one. The Real Shauna Stage. We're just excited about Caviar, and we're excited to bring it to the community. We're going to be very specific about how we promote it at the grand opening and all that, and we're just excited. Oh, and our private label Caviar is available for purchase now. www.caviarbydnhg.com.
Yep.
Oh, we're having a sale right now too.
Yep, 25% off.
25% off.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about Caviar.
Yeah,
right.
Caviar
What size?
itself.
Yeah, like what size tins does it come in?
So we start
How
from
much?
1 ounce to all the way up to 17 ounces, but
Yep.
1 ounce to 8 ounces on the website.
And what's the portion size? Like 1 ounce would feed how many people?
Feed me for 5 seconds because I eat a lot. So don't even talk to me. 1 ounce is not enough for me. It's not. It's a teaser.
Okay.
It's a
But
sampler.
1 ounce is traditional of what they would serve you in a restaurant.
But they would charge you how much?
Anywhere between 185 and
it's
2
not
something
worth this
for 1
so-
ounce.
Oh, so that's one other thing I want to bring. The name of the restaurant is Caviar. I don't want people to be intimidated and think, oh my God, it's so expensive. We're not trying to make money off of this caviar. What we're trying to do is introduce this to the culture and the community at large and elevate your dining experience. Caviar is one of the biggest trends happening in the culinary scene right now. I love that for us. And it's delicious, and we don't want to break people's bank by charging too much. So our prices are very moderate. You'll see that at www.caviarbydnhg.com. And
She made sure she looked
soon
back.
there'll be merchandise rolling out. The logo's already iconic. Check out the IG page. And we're just super excited about it. And next time, we're going to have a caviar tasting for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Restaurant scientists, we're going to bring our brand.
Okay.
We'll do some samplers.
We'll bring some
And
vodka,
then
some
some
champagne.
Oh, that's what I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Do
can have
that.
caviar
Before the
either
grand opening.
Yes, exactly.
Let's do that.
Exactly.
Let's
so,
do that.
okay.
So that's fire.
Stay tuned. We'll be back again.
Yes.
All right. Tell us. What's any
your
last
last
nuggets
words?
of
I mean,
knowledge?
this honestly just a feeling of just we don't want to win in silence, and I always say this on my Instagram, and I think too often people say, don't tell people what you're doing and don't tell people until you finish doing it. I really don't believe in that philosophy, because I feel like if you're really a part of the culture or you're for the culture, people have to see you win, and they can't see you win in silence. They got to see you winning, and that needs to be a motivation to people who are striving to be like Shauna, like myself. And we got to share the information.
Yeah, it's
right?
about inspiration.
It's about inspiration.
Yeah.
And I mean, us growing up, we were inspired by Michael Jordan, and we saw Mike winning those games, and he wasn't winning in silence. He was going hardcore,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So I feel like that same philosophy applies to us. There's no winning in silence. We're going to win, and we're going to win out loud.
Yeah, and it's not about bragging. It's just about God gave me this talent. I want to share it with the world, and I'm excited for you should be excited for me too. Like, just like people doing their thing. Like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, and don't I'm not a big thing on social media. I try to do a little post every now and then. I told Shauna a long time ago, I'll be scared, and if I went past 600 followers.
He got way
And
past
so now I'm at 1,000, and I'm nervous.
I have 174,000.
Yeah, so
on one of my
I'm the behind the scenes guy. I'm not really
Absolutely.
like that. But I'm at Mr. Chairman, and that's Mr. ._Chairman, the number 2, and you. I mean, you don't have to follow me. Just know who I am, though.
Absolutely.
Because I'm coming.
Because he's coming. He may be coming to acquire you, he may be coming to hire you.
Exactly.
Right? So it's
That's
either
true.
two, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. Douglas Neely Hospitality Group. You've seen them and heard them first here at Hidden Figures Behind the Numbers with the Restaurant Scientists. You heard it. You saw it. You witnessing it. They're going to be back. So, as we wind down this show, I want to thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so much
thank you for
having
having
us.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for your honesty, your authenticity,
Yes.
all of that. We want to thank you.
Thank you.
So here we are at the end of another show, Behind the Numbers with the Restaurant Scientists. I want to thank my sponsors, Cornerstone Business Labs and Cornerstone Productions. My name is Jason Wallace. I am the Restaurant Scientist. And until we meet again, Power to the people.